Welcome back to the Hemline Homicides, Chapter 5, Hemmed In. Bruce Nestle's studio was tucked between a vape shop and a crystal emporium, its tinted glass door emblazoned with vinyl letters that read, Nestle in News, bold, biased, broadcast. Snow exchanged a glance with Noakes as they stepped inside, greeted by a waft of bergamot incense and the unmistakable hum of ring lights.
Welcome to my lair!
Bruce sang from behind a trio of monitors. He wore a velvet blazer, the color of cherry cola, and oversized glasses perched on his head like a crown.
Detective Noakes, darling, Dr. Hiver. Buttonhole Bay's on such a true crime weekly. What a pairing!
You know who I am? Noakes asked, already skeptical.
Oh, honey, I know everything. It's my job.
Bruce spun his chair dramatically and gestured for them to sit.
Tea? I'm brewing a scandalous Earl Grey.
No thanks, Snow said, smoothing her jacket. We hear about Vera Valen. Bruce clicked his tongue.
Of course, poor thing. Dead as a discount coupon after Boxing Day. Shame, really. I was prepping a major feature on her.
Feature? Noakes prompted.
She was influencer royalty, big clicks, big controversy, and apparently big secrets.
Bruce leaned in.
You know she was stealing right, not just designs, identities, reputations, careers. I had at least 4 big designers ready to go on record.
Snow nodded. We've spoken to one, Lindy Farrow. Bruce's eyebrows lifted.
The stitch-by-stitch girl. Oh, she had receipts, but she wasn't the only one. Vera had been playing games with people far beyond your typical Pinterest drama. Rumors, threats, dirty contracts, a whole lot of or else in that glossy pink persona.
Did Vera know you were planning to publish? Snow asked. Bruce shrugged.
I don't think she cared, but someone did.
Noakes narrowed her eyes. What do you mean? Bruce tapped a glittery nail on his desk.
Well, a few days before the fair, I got to visit some stressed-out older woman. Blouse starched to how, voice like a cracked teacup. Said she was from the festival committee, wanted to clear up misconceptions before I went public.
Snow stilled. Did she give a name?
No, but darling, you can't forget someone who flinches every time the wind changes direction. Tight-assed and sugar-sweet. Told me I'd be doing real harm by airing hearsay about Vera Valen. Said the town needed positive press.
He winked.
You know, for healing.
Snow immediately knew who he was referring to. Meryl had never mentioned meeting Bruce. Not once. Did she threaten you? Noakes asked. Bruce waved a hand.
Please, darling, I've had YouTube trolls do worse. But it was weird, like she wasn't trying to protect Vera. More like just the event, the small town event.
Snow exchanged a sharp glance with Noakes.
Oh, and
Bruce added like an afterthought that had been waiting for maximum drama.
Someone else wanted her quiet. Not your average disgruntled crafter either.
Noakes tilted her head. Who? Bruce grinned, pleased with the build-up.
There's a whisper going around about a pattern designer. Operates mostly overseas. Rare public appearances. Very proprietary about his work. Word is, Vera lifted the design from him. In Double Down. I heard this designer has got connections.
What kind of connections? Snow asked warily. Bruce dropped his voice.
Mafia. Or something adjacent you didn't have from me. But I wouldn't be shocked if Vera pissed off the wrong queen pin and someone made sure she wouldn't do it again.
Noakes snorted despite herself. You expect me to add organized crime hit to my case file. Bruce fluttered his lashes.
A girl can hope.
Noakes leaned one elbow on the edge of Bruce's cluttered desk. Do you know the name of this so-called organized crime patternista? Bruce gave a dramatic sigh.
Unfortunately, no. Just whispers. The kind people only say once, then check over their shoulder.
Snow exchanged a glance with Noakes, who straightened. If you hear anything more, Noakes said, her voice low but firm, especially a name, call us immediately. Bruce raised both brows, a slow grin spreading.
Darlings, if I get even a scrap of scandal, you'll be the first to sip it. I love to spill the tea.
Bruce pursed his lips.
No promises, but when you solve this thing, I want the exclusive. Maybe a podcast collab. Needle and Notion and Nestle Noir. Has a ring to it, doesn't it?
Noakes was already walking toward the door. Snow smiling faintly. We'll let you know. As they stepped into the salty air, Snow turned to Noakes. She never told me, she said, Meryl, about meeting him. She didn't tell me either, Noakes replied, which means she's either hiding something or we've got someone who wants to steer the narrative before it even unravels. Snow looked out over Buttonhole Bay, and someone else out there who knows how to make people disappear. Early the following morning, Snow sat curled on her couch in her sewing room, a vintage armoire, carefully placed near the large window to make the most of the warm afternoon sun. A shawl draped across her knees. Noakes's case file spread out in front of her like a half-pieced quilt. Outside, coastal fog pressed against the windows of her sewing studio, a white hush that made the morning feel suspended in thread. She hadn't been able to sleep, not since Bruce Nestle's flamboyant revelations, and especially not since the suggestion that someone far more dangerous than an influencer could be behind it all. But before they could chase shadows, they had to pull the truth from the people closest to the crime. Noakes, never one to waste time, had brought them all in. The file before Snow contained notes of all the interviews. The summaries were neat, efficient, and underlined where it mattered. She simply asked 5 questions to each of her 3 biggest suspects, all who were present at the Festival of Threads. Interview: Mag Stewart, local high school textiles teacher. She arrived with an armful of rolled lesson plans and her signature pincushion bracelet, still half loaded with pins. Snow imagined she hadn't even taken the time to change after class. Where were you the night Cassie Hart was murdered? Mags's jaw had tightened, but she responded smoothly.
Grading papers at home. My activity will be time-stamped on the school's grading portal backend.
Were you aware that Vera had used or altered one of your designs? At this, her voice had grown sharp.
The double-layer neckline on the peplum, mine, taught in class, never published. Vera had no business replicating it.
Did either Vera or Cassie ever threaten, intimidate, or warn you? Mag Stewart's posture had straightened defensively.
Cassie had once observed my classroom, allegedly for inspiration. She took notes, a lot of notes.
Do you know anything about a rumor involving an organized crime connection to the sewing world? At this, Mags had lowered her voice.
I heard Vera was digging for influence up north. Some out-of-town designers mentioned threats. Mafia came up once.
Have you ever shared your designs with someone you thought might have passed them to Vera? With a deep sigh, Mags admitted,
My students often photograph my work. One might have shared too much. I assumed good intentions. Maybe that was naive.
Interview: Marta Grobler, fabric co-op owner. Marta arrived with dye-stained fingers and a travel mug that read, "Pattern before people." She smelled faintly of eucalyptus and denim sizing. Where were you the night Cassie Hart was murdered?
At the co-op, counting end of day till. Cameras will confirm it.
Were you ever aware that Vera had used or altered one of your designs? A firm nod.
That pocket flap wrap skirt was mine. Vera took a picture of my daughter wearing it last spring. Said it was inspirational. The next thing, her lookbook contained that very design.
Did either Vera or Cassie ever threaten, intimidate, or warn you? Eyes narrowing, Marta recalled.
Cassie implied that my supply connections could disappear if I wasn't more agreeable. I just allowed Vera to use my design.
Do you know anything about a rumor involving an organized crime connection to the sewing world? A pause from Marta.
I heard rumors about a laundering operation disguised as a pattern house. Always assumed it was social media gossip.
Have you ever shared your designs with someone you thought might have passed them to Vera? She shrugged.
Designs fly around online. I once uploaded a tutorial. No idea who watched it.
Interview. Joe Sim, teenage sewing prodigy. Jo arrived in an oversized hoodie and sneakers, sleeves pulled over her hands, clearly nervous. She refused coffee, instead clasping a bottle of apple juice like a lifeline. Where were you the night Cassie Hart was murdered?
I was home, studying. My mom can confirm. We were baking for Grand's birthday.
Were you ever aware that Vera had used or altered one of your designs? Her voice had trembled.
The satin-lined capelet. Mine. I once stitch and sip. She DM'd me once, complimented it. Next month it was in a winter shoot. She stole it.
Did either Vera or Cassie ever threaten, intimidate, or warn you? Jo bit her lip.
Cassie told me it was a compliment, like being noticed by royalty. I didn't feel flattered though. I felt taken. She told me to leave it, where I find myself in a lot of trouble, because Pharaoh's much more powerful and much more well-known than she was. I didn't want to mess with it, so I just left it.
Do you know anything about a rumor involving an organized crime connection to the sewing world? Jo's eyes had widened.
Like real mafia? No, but people online said various manufacturers from shady histories.
Okay, last one and I promise you can go back to your mom. Have you ever shared your designs with someone you thought might have passed them on to Vera?
I had a mentor who might have shown my sketches around. I trusted her. Maybe I shouldn't have.
Snow continued to read the file. Additional note, Bruce Nessel. Bruce had already given them the juicy details in his studio, but Noakes had included a follow-up observation. Bruce may be dramatic, but his hunches have a hit rate. His warning about the mystery mob connection designer still echoes. And then there's the matter of the committee visitor he hinted about. The older woman with a tight smile and too much perfume, which we know to be Meryl Wicks. Snow closed the file slowly. Each interview painted the same picture: intimidation, silent theft, and egos bruised just enough to stay quiet. But beneath the surface was something else, something threaded with secrecy. Noakes had scribbled in the margins. They all had motive, but only one has intent. Snow stared at the notes until they blurred. A rhinestone brooch, her stolen thread, used as a murder weapon, and a smudge on a mirror. Someone wasn't just hiding behind fashion. They were stitching together a cover story with surgical precision. And Snow was starting to see the seams.